Hey, so I wanted to jump in before we get to the final chapters and say just give a couple disclaimers. As you might have noticed, I don't have video editing software. I never edit my videos at all. I can't even put them together, so I can't really tag on disclaimers unless I'm prepared to interrupt the book to do so, and I'm not. So also on that note, if you've been watching along, thank you for your perseverance. It's been a trip because I'd never had this happen before, where I just made so many long videos that they just stop, that the computer just is like, nope, we don't have the RAM for this, so we don't have the memory, and we hate your face. So so I've had to delete everything off of my computer, like all my pictures, all my videos, all my programs. Like, I just had to delete absolutely everything from this computer to keep making these videos. So thank you for putting up with the 15-minute intervals when they just cut out, because I'm not doing it again. I did it enough the first time. So I did want to write a little disclaimer and some words of appreciation, because reading this book made me feel so much less alone, and so much more mad that I have only, that it took me until spring of last year to read this book. I mean, it would have saved me 30 years of bullshit if I'd have just read this book in my late teens. So it was an incredible act of faith and bravery for Dworkin to write this book and include both the suicidal and homicidal endings. She vehemently spoke out against female suicide and the classification of males as disposable or subhuman. Hopefully, it is obvious that I'm not advocating for the indiscriminate murder of men on account of their maleness. I'm reading a novel, a work of fiction, written by a woman who relentlessly advocated for the humanity of men her entire life. In case it's not obvious, I here explicitly state that plenty of men are righteous, wonderful, humane people, and plenty of women are not. Conversely, neither am I advocating for follow-through on suicidal ideations. With my full chest, I heartily proffer that it is a despicable act to attempt to manipulate others by threatening suicide. However, it is a tragically common experience to be suicidal at some point in the duration of modern life. Modernity's rough out here. For those who dismiss it as a cowardly act, tell me you've never really tried it without telling me you've never really tried it. Neither an act of valor nor defeat. It is a wholly personal act of reclamation. Some call it selfish. Perhaps this is so. If so, what level of selflessness is demanded of one, such that life is not one's own to conduct nor cease? I do not support state-sponsored or facilitated suicide, which more often than not hides eugenics behind ideals of euthanasia, nor am I prepared to condemn people who have faced this choice down to its conclusion. In feminist circles, Dworkin was publicly derided, shamed, and dismissed for her continued sexual relations with men. In anti-feminist circles, she was written off as an unfuckable militant man-hater. Pro-pornographers chided her as a censorious, pearl-clutching moralist, a label easily disproven upon the cracking of even a single of her tomes. Pop culture denizens declared her, at best, unrealistic, and at worst, an outright liar. Her honesty, realism, pragmatism, and courage spoke for itself, which is, I think, why opposition to her was so vicious and vociferous. She wrote eloquently about the need to listen, always to listen, to your friends, to your enemies, to strangers, to the ether. And in this, through all the tribulations of this world, I have reason to believe that she lived up to herself. After becoming a public figure, having listened to thousands of women's stories, it took brutal clarity to recall her youthful cool kiddery, her willing participation in the not like other girls haughty distancing that contributed to her exactly like other girls' experiences. It took chutzpah to articulate both the blind, impersonal, murderous rage socially forbidden women and the absolute despair offered in its stead, as she felt them, without succumbing to either. She died in her late 50s of myocarditis, heart failure, after a full, wild, and wildly misunderstood life. Not only one thing. She was a whole-ass person. Not a symbol, not a saint, but a person who cultivated herself into what she became. Same as you or I. She was allowed her rage, but never forgiven it. She was permitted her politics that it may be straw-manned and scapegoated. The points of contention I have with her positions are few, but strong. For instance, in the last chapter, this is coming up here in a couple weeks, I feel like she jumped the shark a little bit. And in the epilogue, she was downright shitty. You know, and there are parts of that I'm not going to read. I'm out here reading the child graves and shit, so you can cut me some slack. Or not, whatever. The points of contention I have with her positions are few but strong, many, though not all, of which she herself disavowed in her later years. I do not feel the need to support her positions. I have my own. However, it would be a histrionic and shameful disrespect not to acknowledge that she and many other second-wave feminists paved the way for my life to be what it is today, politically, intellectually, and sexually, before I ever heard her name or learned of the existence of radical feminism. I'm grateful for her contributions to the world. She did things. She made things. And in doing so, made so many other things possible.